So this video is going to be rather an interesting one. So just a reminder people, make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, if you want to see the channel be successful in the launch of Final Shape and beyond. So this video is regarding Cheese Forever's video, which I recommend you watch that one before this one, and it basically says that we're going to be 35% weaker. This is based off a couple of calculations that people have done when they done the Bungie when they flew to Bungie and they got the numbers, right? So some people have made some estimations and said, I think it might work like this or that. So just before I go into it, just remember I didn't do the calculations, and this is my disclaimer. Everything said in this video is either hearsay or a highly educated guess by me. Nothing is absolute truth until the Final Shape launches on Tuesday, and batteries are not included with that. So, getting into the topic of the video. It's my worry or concern of what Cheese Forever's video said, us being 35% weaker. Let's read what the posts say first. So it's from Mosey Max. I am a Scooby-Doo about who he's called or who he is. But anyways, he says take with a giant grain of salt. Based on some preview footage in Grasp and the power level TWID, I think Dungeons and probably raids are moving from a plus 20 cap to a minus 5 delta cap, equivalent to the Atrax Pantheon. This is a minus 35% nerf to damage, but it might also get surges, question mark. Let's read on to his other posts. This comes from Dacre footage. Who is that? Dacre? Footage showing GOA at 1950 activity power level, and the previous tweet saying the power level cap for rage is 1945. That's the minus 5 delta cap we're on about. This also lines up with my calculations for the damage numbers I see in the GOA footage, except for strand weapons, which are all 25% higher because of surges. If this is true, it means all raids and dungeons are being standardized to a single power level rather than ranging from 560 Cali to 1810 Crota, hyphened. Current resources will need to adjust values, but we can finally directly compare between any boss in the game. Also, it looks like there's a power floor of minus 10 delta in addition to the minus 5 cap. So you won't do less damage if you're below 1940 or more damage above 1945. Right, so there's a lot to unpack with that. But to me, it's pretty simple on what he's saying. So first of all, the first thing is this. You can overlevel dungeons by 20 levels. So Warlord's Ruin right now, you can overlevel it to 1810. And you will do more damage and be more tanky, etc., etc. Right? But what he's saying is the new cap. So say, for example, let's just take this, right? So 1790. If the cap was minus 5 delta, that means the maximum damage would be 1785. Once you got to 1785 in this scenario, you would do max damage. You'd be 500. Do you realize how bad that is? Because I pointed out 4 weeks ago, because I have a crystal ball, I'm a doctorate of Destiny 2. Call me Doc 91, because I told you all 4 weeks ago, and I love when I'm right, right? That sounds so bad, but I said this 4 weeks ago. I said, look, you're going to be 35% weaker. It's published 5th of May. I can't lie. Videos don't lie. People lie on the internet, but I can't because I make videos. So I can't lie, but I can get things wrong. But what I said was, you're minus 35% weaker. Why? Well, I said it for a different reason to what Mossy Max said it for, because obviously he's saying it about the new standardization. I said it because of the mods, because of Solo Operator, Revitalize and Blast. From whence you came, all these mods equal to 35% buff plus debuff, all together total. So for Warlord's Ruin, you are 35% stronger this season. In the final ship, you will lose all this stuff and be 35% weaker because of the mods. Right? I told you all 4 weeks ago to run Warlord's Ruin. What did I say? Run Warlord's Ruin. Run it if you need the emblem. It's gonna get tougher in final ship. Hey, and it is gonna get tougher because you can't even overlevel it. You can't overlevel it. So therefore, boom, you've lost that, and you've also lost your debuff and your free buff. And guess what? The picture gets even worse because I've done the stat checks. On Grave Matter, Soul Force goes to the deep. Tattered Regalia, Soul Force Warlord's Ruin, the two hardest dungeons in the game, and the percentage on these emblems is nearly identical to 4 weeks ago. Isn't that funny? This tells me exactly one thing. This is low interest. Nobody can be bothered to farm Solar Flawless Dungeons anymore. Nobody's interested in this topic anymore. Other than watching somebody do it, they couldn't care too much. Either that, or there's players on a massive scale failing to Solar Flawless these dungeons over the last month, right? Which means the attempts must be quite low, or might be low. It's either or. It's either people are failing or people are not interested, and it's probably a combination of both. So it's 2%. People have 2% have a grave matter. So 2% of us have solar flawless. Goes to the deep. 1.3% of us have solar flawless. Warlord's ruin. That's now where you can overlevel the dungeon. You can get a free buff. You can get a free debuff. And you're going to say, well, what about prismatic? The IFAC mods aren't good in Fellowship. I was gonna make a video about it, but I decided not to. But they don't seem that good. Like they're good for ad clear. It's all ad clear and survivability. Are you noticing what Bungie's doing? Are you noticing the patterns? They're giving you healing guns. They're giving you Red Death. They want the game, okay, to be a survival game. They want you to sort of be up against the darkness and, will I beat it? Will I do it? They don't want damage rotations. They don't want us to be smashing bosses to bits. They don't want to encourage that culture of DPS rotations. And to be honest, I do get tired of it as well. The whole DPS rotation. I must admit, in the D1 culture, it was better because damage rotations wasn't a thing. There was meta stuff, Galahorn, Sleeper Stimulant, and all that stuff, and you were required to think about your loadout. But now at this point, we're just getting stupid with it. You've got to run three DPS weapons. You've got to run auto load and holster. You've got to have the right GL on. You've got a Theorycraft on XL, Microsoft XL. You've got to have a most powerful PC. You've got to do this. You've got to freaking do all these switches. Come on, man. Like, that sometimes somebody can be too smart where you get fed up of them. And that's what a lot of these speedrunners are they're starting to get too annoying where they're being too like I'm objective about the game, but some of these players are getting too objective, like far too objective about the game. Like they're just wanting to just do DPS tests. You just need to go and like chill out and relax about that stuff. Bungie doesn't want you doing that. They don't want you doing that. What they want, Bungie's idea of the combat experience is this: is for you to do a little bit of damage to a boss and then survive, 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 do mechanics, survive, 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 back to DPS, do a little bit of burst damage, boom, back to surviving. Your combat experience is against the ads, not the boss. That's what they want. Can you not see it? It's clean, plain to see. It's so obvious. I've been playing Destiny for years now. I know all the moves they make before they make them. I understand exactly what they're wanting to do and make it out of the game. They don't want you melting bosses. They don't care if people are skilled at melting bosses. They couldn't care less about that. What they want is they want their vision to be true, not yours. It's not about you, it's their game. Remember this. It is their game, and what they say goes. But the problem is, in Lightfall they've done that, and look at what happened. Neomuna is the worst planet to play on. Because planet play, yeah, playing on a planet should be quick, fast combat to get things farmed quickly. It shouldn't be slow combat unless there's endgame on that planet. Like an activity, like escalation protocol, like back in the day. It should be stuff like that. It's like, all right, yeah, fair enough. But like patrol stuff, lost sectors, base lost sectors should not have sordid enemies. They should not be sordid enemies. Definitely not. And that's why the Lightfall's campaign was terrible, yes. But what killed Lightfall was that everything was standardized. They tried to standardize the whole Lightfall experience. I know they didn't standardize the entire game, but Final Shape's looking at trying to do that. They're trying to standardize all the dungeons. So basically, like when you go and play Shattered Throne, right, it's going to be a -5 delta, assuming that that's based, that the guy's right, which I would believe it to be probably right. This will mean like To newer players who haven't played Shattered Throne, it's gonna feel decent because it's gonna feel as though it's breathed new life into it. Fair enough, but this standardization does not work for the dungeons like Warlord's Ruin and Ghost of the Deep for the reasons I mentioned earlier about the low clear rates, solo flawless clear rates of these dungeons. Because team gameplay is generally 90% of the time balanced for dungeons. It's balanced for free players. It's fine. They don't need to sort of change that. It's the solo aspect that's the issue. So that's what we're saying with all this. All right, is that you should have done your solo flawlesses before now, and I know a lot of you haven't. You don't need to tell me that you haven't because I can see and look at the stats. The stats don't lie. Emblem.report will more than likely be accurate enough, right? It'll probably, I don't know how it'll exactly work. It'll probably take a read in every reset or something like that. I don't know. I'm no programmer. I'm no coder. I don't know any about that. But I do know that it won't be out. It won't be that far out because it just won't be. It'll be about right. Um, Again, not everyone goes for the Solar Force dungeons, but a hell of a lot of people comment about it. So I refuse to believe that people don't go for it because there's a lot of people there's a lot of chatter on Reddit, on YouTube, on everywhere asking for advice about Solar Force dungeons. So obviously there's a lot of yous going for them, but a lot of yous are failing. And if yous are failing now, yous will only fail more in Final Shape. And don't rely on Prismatic being your one trick pony because look, just because you can twirl around in the air and do something doesn't mean that you're going to be better at Solar Force Dungeons because ultimately Bungie, the Destiny 2 game, if there's any time a buff or a debuff to take from a new class, artifact mod, anything, you always pick the buff or the debuff over other stuff. Always. It's the most important thing. And the artifact mod system for Final Shape does not contain a debuff or solo operator. It does have a void sources to increase damage to weakened targets, but that's so what? That is not as good as Revitalize and Blast. It is not as good as solo operative, especially for dungeons, and it's a glaring issue. I hope that this is not to be true, but if it is, then good luck to you who want it. You probably should just leave it alone, the subject. Focus on the file shape, see where we go from there. But if there's uproar about this, then Bungie's probably going to have to change their mindset because they had to. File shape, Lightfall was an issue for them. We might be having a large scale issue with this. This is going to affect a lot of people, and I'm not looking forward to it. To me, it doesn't matter. I don't care. All right. I just want what you want. If I want what the majority wants. If you want things to be easier, I'll go with you. If you want things to be harder, and it's the majority of you, I'll go with you because I need players to play D2. I don't need players to quit. And it's as simple as that. So I'll just go with the masses, right? It's what you lot want, and I don't think you want what might be happening with this. That's the video on this. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.